How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age comic books. Now, I've had a few subscribers that have come up lately, so I'd like to say thank you for subscribing and welcome. And for those of you who do watch my videos and then aren't a subscriber, you might want to consider subscribing. It helps the ego. It's an ego thing. If you have anybody else who's interested in the materials that I cover, you might be able to go ahead and stir them this way. They might enjoy the stuff. So, now, I know there's Spider-Man stuff behind me, but it doesn't have anything to do with this video. I just thought I'd show off some of my stuff. Probably gonna keep the mask in the videos. I like how it blends in with the motif. Anyways, today I'm going to be covering a comic publication that I'm pretty sure that I haven't gone over any of these heroes before. I might have included one in kind of a list, part of a list video, but I don't think I've gone into any great depths or research on any of these before. So it's brand new territory for me. So it's a new year and a new publication, and we're going to be reviewing a hero that makes this shirt a lot more relevant. It is a patriotic superhero, military-based. The origin story gets a little strange, but it's the Golden Age. It's stuff like that. You were allowed to get away with stuff like that on a regular basis. So, this hero, actually, this is interesting. He has 6 comic book appearances, 4 cover appearances, where he was the featured cover 4 times. He only has 4 stories despite the 6 comic books, and I'll explain why that is. So let's go ahead and cover the origin story. Yes, another hero who doesn't just appear, he does have an origin story, and yeah, he has an origin story, so let's get into this. Major Victory. Major Victory, real name unknown, first appeared in Dynamic Comics number 1 in 1941. The publisher is Chesler, named after Harry A. Chesler, Chesler. There is nobody credited with the creation. So the real name of Major Victory is unknown, and so is the created by. Let's get started. So the comic opens up and we see a shot of Major Victory. And then we get into the origin story. Outside of U.S. Army Camp Courage stands a lone sentry, and he notices that something is going wrong at the arsenal. So he pops into the arsenal and tells the guy to reach for the sky, and he gets a lantern thrown in his face. And then he falls to his knees saying, "My face!" And then, "The bomb somewhere around here. I've got to find it." I don't know how he knew there was a bomb. It's not addressed until he's lying on the floor saying, "The bomb." Now, his face ablaze, he pulls the bomb into his chest. And he's attempting to smother this. And I believe that any soldier would pull the bomb into the chest. Now, just a quick second. If any of you are wondering why in God's name he would do something like this, this is actually something that we were trained to do in the Army. Not exactly take a bomb into our chest, but if we had the ability to jump on a grenade to save the soldiers around us, we're trained and conditioned to jump on, like if we were in a battle and a grenade was thrown into the area and my commanding officer were put in danger by this, I would actually jump onto the grenade to keep it from killing anybody else. This is actually something that we were trained to do. Sacrifice ourselves for the service and protection of others. Now, I think that he's doing this because he's trying to minimize the explosion in an ammo depot, which would create a sizable explosion if all that stuff went up. But, yeah, that's actually something we would do. If you remember the first Captain America movie where Tommy Lee Jones' character throws the fake grenade and Chris Evans' characters landed on it, he didn't land on it quite right. You wouldn't cradle the grenade. They did that for cinema. It was a great cinematic shot, but you would actually lie flat on top of it to keep it from spreading out, because you have an area where you would die if you were in it, but then there's also shrapnel that comes from these grenades. So with you lying on top of it, not only do you keep the bomb from killing anybody else, you also keep the shrapnel from going anywhere. I know, I'm getting long into this. So we see that the ammo depot did explode. He didn't stop the bomb in time. And then these two mysterious figures with wings show up, and then he is taken to an elderly man sitting on what appears to be a throne. We find out that this man is known as Father Patriot. He is the spirit of patriotism that was born in 1775, as he claims here. The soldier is brought before him, and he rings a bell which brings him back to life. And he states, "Throughout the years, men have given their lives, so America shall live on. They must not have died in vain, nor their work undone. Get into these," and he hands him what becomes his uniform. A white shirt, blue jeans, a belt with a V on it, and a cape that I think is supposed to represent the American flag. What's around his neck is the stars, but the cloak that he wears is red and blue stripes, which I don't think that's what it originally was intended. So now we cut to another scene where we see these band of Nazis, not identified as Nazis, but the German accent and the little monocle he's wearing pretty much states it, and they take over this mining town, because in some of these mining towns they mined, it was like the war effort with Iron Fist. They mined the metals and used them in the factory to make stuff for the war effort. They take over the town, and Major Victory is alerted to this and flies his plane to the town. And when he shows up, he starts to fight the bad guys using one-liners that any classic Golden Age hero would use. And once he says, "That's a Yankee Doodle special." So some of the people held captive helps to fight them off, and he gets into a plane to engage in a sky battle with the Nazis. At one point, his plane gets hit, and he jumps from his plane onto another plane, throws the guy out of the plane, and this is when we see his cape now being more of the red and white stripes and not blue anymore. So he throws the guy out of the plane, and his plane catches fire, so he yanks the machine gun out, which is why I think he has some enhanced strength. And as his plane is going down, he shoots the other plane down. It's got to be a miraculous shot. So he brings the other plane down, and he meets up with the spirit, and he says, "I'm ready to strike hard at the enemies of the American way." And the spirit says, "Well done, Major Victory, but our work is only just begun." And in the corner you see it say, "Major Victory appears in Dynamic Comics." So that's the first appearance of Major Victory. Let's go ahead and cover his 3 other stories, because I mentioned there were 4 total, even though it's 6 comic books. And then I'll explain why they were only 4 stories. So we have 2 more panels and a text story, like with the Crash Kit. So let's briefly go over those, and then we'll get into the rest of it. In the next episode, there seems to be a gathering going on where the guy on the podium says they're waiting for a general. He gets delivered a package, and in the package there's the general's skull, and it says, "Don't wait for me anymore, here I am." And it looks like it's signed by the general. Sometime later, there is another person that they are waiting on, and a package is delivered, which is delivered in the same way. It says, "Don't wait for me any longer, here I am," with his name attached to it. So Father Patriot summons Major Victory and says, "Great men are being murdered by devilish fiends. The country grows weak." It's time for a victory. Go forth, Major Victory. I'm ready, Father Patriot. And he goes out in search of these people. I don't know how he knows which street to go to, but he hears a cry for help and busts in and finds out that this professor is going to be killed. And there's a guy who is wearing a hood, and he seems to be the leader, and he calls himself the Yellow Hood. And here's a great splash page right here where you see Major Victory knocking them all out. So the Yellow Hood takes an axe, but knocks out Major Victory using the back of the axe. Why he doesn't just kill him right here, I guess it's because he's the main character. Now the Yellow Hood is explaining the entire plan, and he says the way he gets the skulls so fast to, these people just dying is he uses acid to eat away the skin and blood and bones and stuff. And off to the side, they decapitate the professor. Now, Major Victory is held up by chains, and this is one of the most contrived ways he gets out of it. He goes, once a small group of colonists broke the chains that tied them. Father Patriot, you can aid me. And Father Patriot rings the bell and the chains snap. And that's so ridiculous. I mean, if Father Patriot could organize these kind of things happening. Anyways, we find that this guy is holding a suitcase, and it says he has a list of traitors to our country. The Attorney General will get it from my own hands. And the Yellow Hood and his gang knocks this guy out and takes the briefcase, and I guess he intends to kill him. And they did kill him and did the same thing with his skull. And they delivered his skull. So Major Victory goes out and tracks down the Yellow Hood, and he confronts them and beats them all up. And the Yellow Hood wants to take a shot at him. Major Victory dodges the bullets and confronts the Yellow Hood by bending his gun, which I don't know Major Victory's power level, but he seems to have enhanced strength, but not super strength. So he bends the gun so it couldn't be used, and he takes his mask off and finds out that he was the professor that we saw being beheaded. And the professor says, it was just a wax dummy and you'll never get me. And he leaps off the mountain that they somehow happen to be on all of a sudden. They didn't reference that. And the rocks below ends his life. And Father Patriot says, you've done well, but there's still plenty of work ahead for you, Major Victory. And Major Victory says, you mean for us, Father Patriot. And they end it, and then with another moniker of Major Victory appears in Dynamic Comics. This next one is rather silly. Major Victory, for some reason, finds himself over in England, and a lady says, here, I need you to take this package to my sister for me. And Major Victory finds out that this package happens to be a baby. He takes the baby back to the hotel room that he's staying at in effort to deliver the baby the next morning. The next morning, he does take the baby to the address that he was told about, and a man answers the door, and Major Victory beats up and pummels everybody there. And then just after he beats everybody up, an inspector shows up and says, hey, we're here to arrest these spies. And Major Victory says, well, don't forget about her, and reveals the curtain, and it's a lady behind there. They asked him how he knew, and he said, well, when a baby cries, you change his clothing. And when I changed his clothes, I noticed that there was a schematic on the factory's inside, so I knew what I had to do. So so he beats everybody up. It's a real short story. This story takes a weird shift. So we see a nice little splash page of Major Victory knocking some guys out. That's how a lot of Golden Age comics would do it. You'd see a scene of something that looks really cool, but that's not really the story. So there look like these country bumpkins guarding a dam, and the two men that are guarding the dam get killed and dumped into the water, and the saboteurs are going to blow the bridge, and then Major Victory happens to show up because Father Patriot summoned him, and he uses some quippy one-liners while knocking the guys out, and we find out that he is bulletproof, apparently, which makes you wonder why in another issue he was dodging the bullets. So he beats up the bad guys and takes them in. The jury finds him guilty of, the judge finds him guilty of murder and sentences them to death row. So they're taken to jail, and apparently there's two people there, a criminal aid representative and a newspaper who wants to print the life stories of the criminals. And after this panel, they have nothing to do with the rest of the story, which makes you wonder why they were in there in the first place. So after these people leave, one of the prisoners happens to grab the guard through the bars, breaks his neck, takes the keys, and they use a stunning jailbreak to get free. They shoot and force their way out. And then the criminals that we saw at the beginning with some other criminals that were in the jail cell all decide to board a ship. And I think they're foreign because they said, we're going to masquerade as a ship and we're going to lure merchant ships to us. And when they come close, we're going to take all their goods. So, Father Patriot says that his job isn't done and he hears that some ships have disappeared. So he stows upon a merchant vessel, and as soon as they board the vessel, Major Victory is there using his quippy one-liners and knocks out everybody. And Father Patriot says, "You've done well, Major Victory, another victory for democracy," and it says Major Victory appearing in Dynamic Comics. Okay, so that covers the 3 comics that he... that's just silly. Okay, that covers the 3 comics that he appears in. Now, Major Victory did... okay, put down the Dallas Cowboys football. Okay, so that's even worse. He did have 3 other appearances in his own self-titled comic book. Now, the Dynamic Comics came out in 1941. He had his own self-titled comic book in 1944. Now, this was a variety comic like the first 3 that he appeared in. Now, the text story is not in any of these 3. Number 1, Major Victory number 1 is actually a reprint of the first. Number 2 is a reprint of the third, and number 3 is a repeat of the second. Now I'm going to show you a couple of pictures from these comic books because they actually gave him a colored outfit where, he was just the white shirt. And the funny thing is, in number 1 and 3 he has the colored outfit, but he doesn't have it in number 2. So I'll show you some of the pictures of the comics so you can see what they were trying to do. Now, there was only 3 issues, and some of the features that appeared in Dynamic comic books also appeared in the Major Victory comic books. Now, I don't know if they were trying to relaunch him or trying to update his stories or just trying to make him somebody different with the yellow. But let's cover some pages from that real quick, and you can see what they might have been trying to go with. Now, this is some of the pictures from Major Victory. I guess they tried to update him a little bit with changing the color of his outfit. it's mainly just the same stories over again. 1 is 1, 2 is 3, and 3 is 2. But here's some of the pictures. I don't know if they ended at 3 because they only had 3 stories, or if it just wasn't getting picked up because they're just reprints with different colors. But here's a few pages. Okay, so that does it for this video. I hope you liked it. I told you, it was weird. This one isn't as ridiculous as the Iron Fist. Nowhere near. If you haven't seen that one, go check it out. It's stupid. I'm not stupid in it. The concept and story is stupid. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give that like button a click. If you'd like to see more characters from this publication, just go ahead and let me know. And Happy New Year to everybody watching. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.